Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannawadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om. Dear friends, we are seeing the Bhagavad Gita. We read the 11th shloka of the second adhyaya yesterday. That is, the 11th shloka is the first word by Lord Krishna. That is, Ashocyan Anvashochastvam Prajnavadanscha Bhashate. Earlier, Arjuna had made a very strong statement. Arjuna said, I don't know what is the remedy for my grief, the grief which is actually burning my entire body. Uchoshanam indriyanam. Indriyanam uchoshanam means that which is burning up my entire body, mind and senses. That is what he said. Even if I were to be the king of the entire earth, even if I were to get the kingdom of heaven, I do not know where from do I get that remedy for my sorrow, that sorrow which is actually burning me from inside. So that is what he said. And now we are going to see that Krishna is saying this shoka nivrutti or removal of sorrow is not from any type of any external agency. Removal of sorrow is not from kingdom. Removal of sorrow is not from material wealth. It is not from something else. It is only from knowing the reality. It is only by knowledge. Removal of sorrow is only by knowledge. Jnana deva. And tarati shokam atmavit. There are various statements in the Upanishads we see tarati shokam atmavit. That is shokam, you can cross over shokam or the ocean of sorrow only by atmajnana, only by the knowledge of self, only by what are you. That is the basic question. So in that context, I was trying to tell you yesterday why Arjuna, why Krishna is giving such a big picture. That is, number one, Arjuna is a thinking person. And Arjuna is not a total novice to all this philosophical discussion, because Arjuna, as a king, he was already a student of Vedas, because I told you in the beginning that in those days, the Kshatriyas, they learnt Vedas. That was a compulsory thing for all the Kshatriyas. So he knew something. He had some idea of what is called Atma, what is called Paramatma, etc., etc. Probably he had not understood well. So Krishna is, in a way, he is trying to explain to him, he is trying to tell him, or rather the whole import, or rather the purport of the Vedic text. So that is what we are seeing. And I was trying to explain to you about what exactly is the nature of human being. The basic question in Vedanta is, who am I? Who am I means, it appears very, very simple. Who am I means, okay, I am born in such and such a family. My father is so and so, my mother is so and so, they have given me so and so name. I belong to this particular caste, I belong to this particular religion, I belong to this particular nation, my nationality is this. And of course, there is a degree, and then I have got some qualifications, I have got some other skills and whatnot. And I also am working in so and so capacity, etc., etc. That is what we say. That is one identity which we have. And that is the identity with which we totally identify ourselves. We identify ourselves with some social identity which has been given by virtue of birth in a particular place at a particular time in a particular society. But then Vedanta says you are not that. Vedanta says you are not that at all, and you are that never changing, avyaya, atma. You are that supreme reality. You are not different from that supreme reality. Your essential nature is that pure consciousness. So that is what they are going to say. And Krishna is merely saying that, but if you want to say how is it derived, we have to go to Upanishads only. Because Krishna says, Jiva is something which is nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, etc. He is going to say. That is, Atma is something which is, it has no death. It is just like a human being changes the shirts, he also changes the bodies, and then he goes from one birth to another birth, but the Atma is something which is not going to die. So that is what Krishna is going to say. Then how do you say that Atma? What exactly is this Atma? I was just trying to tell you what the Upanishads say. I was trying to tell you the human experience. Yesterday when we just stopped, I was telling about the Jagrada Avastha, Swapna Avastha and Sushupti Avastha. The entire human experience is only in these three states. That is, during the wakeful state, I am interacting, I am now speaking, I am able to see, I am able to smell, I am able to feel the touch, etc., etc. So my entire sense organs and my mind are awake in the Jagrada Avastha. and my sense organs are withdrawn, but my mind is very active in the sleep. Where in the sleep means in my dream state, where my mind is actually projecting a new dream world, depending on the impressions which it has acquired during the daytime, various other thoughts which just came, and if some fleeting thought which comes during the day, again it gets revived in the dream, etc., etc. It creates a dream world. And again, in the deep sleep, where even the mind gets withdrawn, you have that nice feeling of experience and you do not know anything. And after you get up, then you experience what is called, oh, I slept very, very happily. That happiness is also felt. I did not know anything. That also is felt. So here, there is a little bit of analysis. What? For example, I look at something. I see an object. I see an object with my eye. The eye is functioning and the object is seen, and behind that eye there is this consciousness or intelligence which is activating my eye to see that object. And I smell something. I smell something with my nose, with my sense of smell, what I say. Then the same intelligence is also behind this nose also. It is not some different consciousness or different intelligence. The same intelligence which is activating my mind, which is activating my eye, is also activating my sense, my nose. It is also activating my sense of touch. It is also activating my sense of taste. So this consciousness or intelligence is something which is common. And if you see, it is common right from childhood to till the death. The same consciousness which is activating, which is enabling a child to know things, the same consciousness is there right till the end. The content of knowledge may change. In childhood, the child may not be knowing so many poems and so much of math, etc. But in course of time, he may become a math professor and whatnot. The content of knowledge may change, but knowledge itself or consciousness itself is the same. And that holds day by day, year after year, etc., etc., and then till the man dies. And even if the man dies, the consciousness is something which does not die. Because the consciousness which is associated with this subtle body, of course, I also told you about this subtle body. The human being, we broadly see in three different levels. What is called a Sthula Sharira, that is the gross body, which is very physically apparent. And this Sukshma Sharira, which is not seen. That is Sukshma Sharira, we call it Sukshma or subtle, because it is something which is not seen. So subtle body, that is, it consists of the 5 sense organs and also the mind and also the 5 motor organs and what are called the pranas. So these are the things. And when a human being is said to die, not only human being, whether it is a dog or any other animal, when it is said to die, what dies is actually the Sthula Sharira, but not that Linga Sharira or subtle body, which is the thing which transmigrates into another body. So that is what is one point which we have to note. There is what is called Sthula Sharira. There is also called what is called subtle body. There is another thing called Karana Sharira. It is a slightly more, rather more difficult concept, which I will tell in course of time later. But right now, because the lesson or rather the class is becoming very, very heavy, because Bhagavad Gita normally, if some Swamijis they tell in a large meeting, they won't tell all this. Because in a large meeting, if Swamijis tell all this, the people will walk away. So I don't have that problem, because I don't know how many people are watching. And even if you switch it off, I don't know. If you are really interested in knowing, maybe you will listen. Okay, let me see what this is. You may try to know what it is. So I don't have the problem of the Swamis. So that is the reason why I am going into some details, which we are supposed to know as students of Gita. If we do not know these things, there is no point reading Gita. There is no point listening to some pleasant talk and going away. And after all, what is the take-home message we have? The take-home message, there won't be anything. So now coming back, so there is a Sthula Sharira and what is called the subtle body or the Linga Sharira, which is the actual thing which is supposed to transmigrate. Linga Sharira itself doesn't transmigrate. The same consciousness which is associated with the Linga Sharira, this consciousness is responsible for that transfer of this Linga Sharira from one body to another body. So this consciousness is something which never dies. And again, how do you say that consciousness does not die? Again, the logic given is, if you see the Vedanta texts or rather Upanishads, consciousness does not die, because if you say that something is dying, who is the witness for that death? So there should be a witness. Who is that witness? That witness should not be somebody who is unintelligent or something which is not sentient or intelligent. It has to be something which is again intelligent, that is associated with consciousness. And that consciousness, when was it born? So if you say that consciousness is born, you need a witness to say that consciousness is born at this time. So for witnessing it, you need a consciousness. If you say that consciousness dies, you need again a witness. So what is called anavastha dosha or infinite regress in English, what do they say? What they say? Infinite regress. So that defect of infinite regress is there. So it is accepted that consciousness is something which has no origin, no end. So that is what is something which is accepted. So when Krishna is saying here, Gatasun agatasunscha na anushochanti panditaha. Pandita, I told you the meaning of pandita yesterday. Panda means, we know that when you go to a temple, you see some pandas. And some people say, no, don't go to these pandas. But I go to the pandas only, because after all, those people, it is a livelihood for them. Okay, you give them some money, and then they happily take us round the temple, and then they tell the story of the temple. I am happy with the panda. But anyway, panda means Atma Vishayakam Jnanam. That is the knowledge of the self, knowledge of what exactly is the self. So that is what is panda. And a man who is having panda is pandita. And this knowledge of the self means knowledge that this self is primarily of the nature of consciousness, and self is something which is not going to die. So that is what is the pandita. So these panditas, they are not the people, they don't grieve. So what does it mean? What does it mean? The overall situation, if you see, Arjuna is saying, when you come back to Arjuna's question, okay, I am going to kill these people, I am all this, there will be a lot of bloodshed, and I will be enjoying a kingdom which is soaked with blood, etc., etc. Does it mean that you can just go and kill anybody and then say, I am not the killer, nobody is killed, etc., etc.? It's not like that. Again, that is what is ruled, governed by dharma. This is at a higher level. What Krishna is saying is at a higher level. At a higher level, there is what is called Atma. At a higher level, this consciousness is something which is not going to die. But at an empirical level, at the social level, at the level of whatever social transaction is there, we are governed by dharma. So dharma is something which has to be followed, keeping in mind that eternal truth. So Geeta always talks about one supreme reality, and keeping in mind that supreme reality, you have to discharge your duty in order to ensure social harmony. If you don't discharge your duty, there is no social harmony. If you don't do your dharma, duty means dharma. In fact, our society is a sort of duty-oriented society. I think I told in the beginning, if you are doing your duty, your rights are taken care of. That is what we say. So this dharma is something which is essential. And for Arjuna, in the overall structure of things, for Arjuna, it is his duty, Kshatriya dharma, to do a legitimate, to go ahead with a legitimate war. If the war is legitimate, if the war is in accordance with dharma, it is his duty to go ahead. Otherwise, he will be failing in his duty of discharging his dharma. So that is what we have to understand here. Then the next shloka, Krishna is again almost repeating the same. He says, that is 12th shloka, Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. He says, Natvevaham jatunasam means there was never a time when I did not exist. There was never a time when I did not exist. What does it mean? I always existed. And it does not apply alone, Krishna to Krishna alone. It applies to every one of us. That is what he is saying. Natvam. Not only, it applies to you also. There was no time when you did not exist. There was no time when all these people also did not exist. And there will be no time when you will not be there. Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha. Sarve vayam itah param. And all of us also will continue to exist at all times. We have always existed, and we continue to exist at all times, he says. So then it is a very, very rhetorical way of saying that this, what we call the self or Atma, for the word Atma, I did not choose to, or rather I didn't want to translate it as a soul. I am translating it only as self. So this self or Atma is something which is of the nature of pure consciousness. It has no origin, it has no death. So, nachaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayamatah param. All of us. And only for the body. Only the body is delimited by various things. The body is delimited. It is having three types of limitation. It is called Trividha Paricheda. Paricheda means, we know that Prathama Paricheda, Dvitiya Paricheda, we see in Hindi texts also we see. Paricheda means a chapter. Paricheda means a limit. Actual meaning of Paricheda means a particular limit. What are the three types of limitations which we have? That is, I am, say, sitting here. I am sitting here and I was not there in 19th century and I will not be there in 22nd century. So I am limited by time. I am also limited by place. That is, I am sitting on this chair and I am not sitting there, I am not here, I am not somewhere else. Though I am also confined by time, by space. So there is some limited space, some 5 feet 6 inches, and then some limited volume, etc., etc. And I am also limited by being a particular person. I am X and I am not A, B, C or anybody. So I am also limited by being a vastu or a particular person or an object. So Desha Paricheda, that is by virtue of time, place. Kala Paricheda, by virtue of time. By virtue of Vastu Paricheda. Desha, Kala, Vastu Paricheda. Trividha Paricheda is there for anything which is there in the universe. You take the entire solar system. The solar system also has got a Paricheda. It has got some lifetime. It was not there a few billion years ago. It came into existence a few billion years ago. And after a few billion years, it will not be there. It will be in a totally different form. And the universe itself did not exist several billion years ago. So the entire thing which is just coming as a cycle and then going away, all these things, they are having this Trividha Paricheda, threefold limitation, except this Atma or consciousness in which everything is appearing. This is a very, very serious topic. But Krishna is saying, when we read Gita, we have to see these things. So, nachaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayamatah param. And again he is saying the 13th shloka in a similar way. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra namuhyati. Dehinaha asmin yatha dehe. We know the word called deha. Deha is a body. If you see the etymological meaning of the word deha, deha means diha. It comes from a Sanskrit root called diha. Diha upachaye. Upachaya means collecting. Go on collecting and go on feeding and feeding and feeding. Right from childhood till death, we eat tons and tons of food. We eat tons and tons of food, and it keeps on going and going, and it keeps on maintaining. It is like a machine which requires, it's like a vehicle which requires fuel every day. You put fuel every day, and then that fuel is exhausted. Again you put fuel tomorrow. Again you put fuel day after tomorrow. So like that, the body is like that fuel. So that machine which is consuming that fuel. So dehinaha asmin yatha dehe. I was telling the meaning of deha. Deha means upachaya, collecting and collecting and collecting. Every day the food we eat, the food which I eat today, it was there in the form of rice yesterday. And maybe a few months earlier, it was there in a shop, let us say. And sometime earlier, it was there in the fields. So that thing is coming and then it is growing, and then tomorrow it will be, some of it is digested and some of it is rejected. And again tomorrow I am going to eat my food. So that is what every day I am eating and eating and eating. Not only me, every living being is consuming in its own way. Some food it is consuming. So dehinaha asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara. And there again this deha is something which is also changing. Kaumaram, for some time it is young. Kumaram is that youth, let us say. Kaumaram literally means what we call what we say adolescent age, the teenage, as we say, the teenage or adolescence. Yavvanam is youth. First he is a small child, then again a boy, then he is an adolescent. After that, adolescents are teens. Then he becomes a youth. Then again he becomes rather mature, rather elderly, and then rather he becomes old, and again old age again, very, very decrepit old age. So all that thing we see. Yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhiraha tatra namuhyati. So he says, for all the beings, and it is applicable not only for the human being, it is applicable for a dog. If you are having a dog, the dog also is born, there is a pup, it is a pup to start with, again slowly grows and grows and grows, it also becomes old and dies. And then you see any other animal, whether it is an elephant or a bull or whatever it is, all the things, they just born, take birth, they grow, then again after some time they become old, and then they do depart. So that is what happens. So Krishna is using another word called Dehinaha. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Dehe, in this body. Dehi. Dehi means the person who is having that body is Dehi. Deha is body. Dehi means the person who is having that body. Who is this person who is having the body? That is what is called Atma. Atma, what we call the embodied self. That embodied self or Atma is the Dehi. So that is what it is. So we'll have to see more about this shloka. So we'll see it tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.